Hey, welcome back. Today we got a 1969 Chevrolet Corvette 427 convertible. Very nice car. However, the car runs really rough and no headlights, no wipers. So a lot of you Corvette guys with the C3 models know when your car runs rough and your headlights don't work, we all know what that is, but a lot of you folks out there don't know. And the question that we're answering here today is, can a leaky headlight destroy an engine? So let's get to it. Now, there's a lot of different tools you can use to test this to figure out what's going on. Smoke machine, vacuum pump. Really, you should have one of these. They're $5 or $10. If you don't have one of these, you probably shouldn't be working on a vacuum control headlight system. So now, another thing you can do is you can take vacuum from your engine, one of your big vacuums, such as your PCV valve or your vacuum brake booster, and you can disconnect that, and you can take that vacuum line and you can feed it to all your different parts on your car. You can feed it to your thermal valves, you can feed it to your louver door, you can, this one pulls up, this one pulls down. Not a complicated system. You can also run a vacuum line all the way to the front bumper, hook it up to the headlight cans, and pull them open and pull them closed. It's really a simple process. And then if you do hook it up to your headlights, and it'll pull open but it won't pull closed, or it just won't move at all, then you got a bad headlight can. They're not a lot of money, they're easy to change. So anyway, that's what we're addressing here today. So obviously we have the smoke machine here because, you know, we've been doing this for a while, but like I said, you don't need a smoke machine, but we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna turn on the smoke machine. So we're gonna find any vacuum that feeds the headlights. Another thing to remember though, this is a positive valve, and what this does is this keeps vacuum in your vressor. Now we call it a vressor, which is short for vacuum reservoir. What that means is that vacuum is stored in a can, and that's a reservoir or a supply, so that after the car has been shut off, or so let's say you're revving the engine and you're doing different things and you got your vacuum advance going and stuff, you don't want the additional vacuum creating a positive or a negative feed on your other items on your engine. So obviously that has to be controlled, and we do that with a positive valve here between the engine and the vacuum reservoir. So what we're going to do here is we're going to bypass this, and we're going to go straight to this line right here. This looks like a good one. That one goes into the vacuum reservoir, comes out of the vacuum reservoir, and it's going to feed all the headlights. So we're going to go ahead and put some smoke on it. But a lot of you C3 guys already know. Car runs rough, headlights don't come up. You already know what the result of this is going to be. But for everybody else, we're going to go ahead and turn this on. Now, this smoke oil, it has an ultraviolet dye in it, and the reason for that is so that you can see it with your lenses. It's easier to spot. But here we go. We're going to plug this in. Let some of this air off. And then pretty soon we're going to find out why the headlights don't come on. This doesn't take a genius to figure out. So on here it's already going. So we can see the smoke already coming. And we can see it's coming from the hoses. So that doesn't mean necessarily the headlight cans are leaking, but it's definitely leaking at the headlight cans. And so what we was told was this vehicle was at another shop for a while, and it had all the vacuum hoses replaced in an attempt to make the headlights and wipers work. Well, that was a huge problem because sometimes these aftermarket vacuum hose kits have different IDs, inside diameters. So some of these hoses that were replaced, they're a little bit bigger on the inside. Or perhaps maybe the headlight cans have been changed over time. Oh yeah, that smoke's really going now. So we can go ahead and turn this off. And then we're going to come over here. We're going to look and we're going to touch these hoses here. And see if I can get, oh yeah, they just fall right off. You just touch them and they fall right off. So the inside diameter of this hose is too big. This is the new hose. Now luckily, we still have the original hoses from the car, and they're in great condition. They're in the back of the box. So we're going to rehose this. We're going to put the old hoses back on this thing. And we just think that it's better. It's a better idea. The inside diameter of the hoses is going to match the car. Now, a lot of you that have factory vacuum lines on these C3s, and let's say you are leaking right at the headlight can, and you can feel it and it pulls right off and you're not getting a good vacuum seal, okay? Well, what you're gonna do there is you're gonna snip a 1/2 inch off of this and make it a clean cut so it looks good. Don't cut it angle, don't cut it twice. Get a good size, longer pair of cutters, snip the end off because that's been ovaled out a little bit over, you know, the last 50 years. So we can snip them down, but in these new hoses that have been replaced, they're not ovaled out. They're just too big for these headlight cans. So we can't really hook these on. Yeah, see, that just falls right off. You plug it on, it falls right off. That's never gonna seal. That vacuum leak's gonna feed back. I say feed back, but it's gonna starve the engine of its necessary vacuum. Now, up here in the Salt Lake Valley, we're at Salt Lake International Airport's about 4120, if I remember, in elevation. So the higher the elevation, the harder it is to get vacuum because the air doesn't rush into the engine at the same rate as it does, say, down at sea level. So you need every little bit of vacuum you can get. And if you do have leaky headlights, leaky louvers, leaky anything, you're going to lose your vacuum advance. You're going to lose your intake. You're going to lose your vacuum brakes ish, and you're going to wind up with an engine that runs like shit. Excuse me, the engine that runs terrible. Now, to the question that we were asking in the beginning of this video, can a leaky headlight destroy an engine? And the answer is yes, it can. The reason is if you've got a vacuum leak, you've created what's called a lean misfire. Now, if you have a lean misfire, you're going to burn your valves up. You're going to burn your valves up. Your engine's going to run hotter. It's going to cook the top of your piston. It's going to cook your valves. You're going to have to tear the thing down. You're going to have to do it again. Now, we think we've caught this one early enough because after a couple of tests, we did pinch off the vacuum lines, and then the car came back to life basically. There's a few variables, you know, obviously. The timing was wrong because of the vacuum. The carburetor was set wrong. People have tried to make this car run right with a vacuum leak. So with a C3 Corvette, we don't tune them until all the vacuum leaks are fixed. If that means fixing the headlights, fixing the wipers, do that first. Otherwise, shut it all off. Just pull all these hoses and cap them. But don't tune an engine with leaky vacuum lines. It's ridiculous. It's unprofessional. So another thing you can do is you can take these simple vacuum gauges, and obviously we've got the kind that you can pump up, but I mean, these things are like 10 bucks new. So we put little tips on them so we can run these things in series. And basically what you can do, you can pull it from your filter and you can plug it in line like this, keep this one connected like this, and then you can tie it back in line just like that. So now you can still run your engine, test all your devices, and see your vacuum in real time while the engine's running. So this is obviously an older gauge and it needs a little calibration, but it'll do for what we're doing. And so anyway, we're gonna go ahead and put all the original vacuum lines back on this car, put it back to what it originally was, do a little snipping, a little trimming, and then any devices that are leaking, if the headlight can's leaking or wiper louver door's leaking or a headlight can's leaking, we'll swap it out, and that's it. Not a big deal. This is not rocket science, guys. These cars are 50 years old, this technology. If you can work on a late model fuel injected car, you can absolutely work on a 1960s Corvette. So yeah, that's it. We're gonna swap all these lines out. We do have a modern distributor coming, and now we really like the HEI distributors, but the problem with this car is with the HEI distributor, the tachometer on this is driven by a speedometer cable at the base of the distributor. So if we switch this out for an HEI distributor, we're going to lose the tachometer. Our customer's not going to be happy. It's unprofessional. So there is a lot of available mini distributors. They're the same size as the point type distributors, but they do have the speedometer cable on the base. So you can still hook the tachometer back up to the distributor, but you get the electronic distributor, the higher energy. You can go with a little bit bigger gap on your spark plugs. Your tachometer is still going to work. Your customer's going to be happier. It's going to run better. And those of you that know the 427 big block Corvettes, they have a chrome box that encloses all this in, and it basically buries it, puts it away, makes it look nice and clean. And we want to keep all that original if possible, or as close to original looking as possible. However, in this case, we are probably going to put a fuel injection kit on this. and that's very exciting. We're looking forward to that. We're gonna start switching out these hoses, and we'll take it from there. Okay. Hey, welcome back. 1969 Chevrolet Corvette 427. This is the car that came in with no headlights, no wipers, a lot of vacuum problems, engine running terrible. We talked about in the last video about how the vacuum line kits that you order for these are too big inside diameter, and that might not be entirely true. So in the earlier 68, 69, I think the majority with the pop-up wipers, they had a smaller ID on the headlight cans and things of that nature. So when you put the hoses on, they just don't seal. So it's better to just keep the original hoses, especially if they're good. I mean, if they're not good, obviously replace them. Then you got to make some kind of an adapter to get down to this smaller size here, which seems to be, I don't know, beyond 1/8 of an inch, something like that. Anyway, so what we did was we put the original vacuum hoses back on the car, the original hose kit, because it was in really great shape. This is the new hose kit. We took all this back off, and all we did was, on the old hose kit, is we trimmed like maybe 5/8 of an inch right off the end of the original hoses, because they got a little large over 50 years. And so, yeah, here's a good example, like that, the little bulge right there. So we just cut out the little bulge, and you got fresh, tight hose again. So like I say, this is all the newer stuff. We took that off, and the reason why is because, as you can see here, and a lot of you C3 guys know, red and green are the headlight up and down. See, it just slips in, slips out like that. You just drive down the road, and look at this, brand new hose, falls right off. So then you get a vacuum leak, your engine runs like heck, your wipers won't work because the vacuum leak, it becomes exponential. It gets worse and worse and worse. So, yeah, we took the new hose off, put the old hose back on, trimmed the ends off, and that seemed to bring everything back to life. And of course, somebody's tuned this engine. They tried to tune it to make it run based upon an engine with leaky headlights, and you can't do that. You got to use a vacuum gauge. You can't just adjust these till they run better. Put a vacuum gauge on them. Put a timing light on them. Do what you got to do. So anyway, we went ahead and zeroed our vacuum gauge, and we made a little T-fitting here. This one I just tied into. You can just tie them into wherever. That way everything still works, and you know you got a good reading here. What this does, this allows you to test everything while it's running and see vacuum in real time. So obviously we've started this once or twice, but we want to show everybody that the work we've done has actually been successful. So we're going to go ahead and start this up and try the wipers out. That's how you start the start. Hot or cold, that's how it should start. It sounds smooth, shouldn't be shaky, maybe unless you got a heavy cam in it. It should be smooth like that. You know, just feel it, see? Nothing's shaking, nothing's bouncing around. Everything's nice, everything's still, everything's steady. Just like that. So, I don't know if you can see on the vacuum gauge, we should be up to 15 pounds there, which that's okay for a 454 and 4,000 feet elevation. So we're going to try the wipers out now. See how fast the door responds now. Wipers respond. It goes right off. So now we're going to turn on the headlights. Come on over here. Headlights come up fast. They come on just like they should. We're going to bring it back down again here. They should close about the same. Yeah, just like that. So that's what you guys want to see. You can look in here and see. We put all the original hose, all the tubing back to the old stuff, the original General Motors stuff. Man, this stuff is, you know what, it's 56 years old, something like that, 55 years old, and it's still just as good as it was the day it was made. We just trimmed the ends off, and we did have one leaky headlight bucket, so I went ahead and replaced both headlight buckets with a couple of buckets I had out of an older C3 that we had sitting here. We could have ordered some, they're not a lot of money, but we decided to go ahead and just use what we had here just to keep the ball rolling. So we got a good vacuum, got good wipers, everything seems to be working. lubrication, we put the vent tubes to go out of the shop because they don't work perfectly, but they do work. These long tube headers, man, they're harder to seal off so that you can't keep the exhaust gas out of the shop. You know, we don't want to get exposed to HC and CO, but you know, there's a little bit in here, but most of it goes out. We're okay. So this particular engine, today we were going to put in an HEI distributor. Now tracking said it was going to be here today. That's what it said all week. Well, here we are. It's Saturday. It's Saturday night. Tracking still says it's going to be coming today, and we all know it isn't. So I guess I'm not going to see my distributor until Monday, and that makes me very sad because I really wanted to wrap this car up this weekend and get it all done. We finished the coolant leaks and the leaky oil that was coming out of the valve covers. We've set the timing, but again, it's a point type distributor. You got to reset them every 10,000 miles, and they're never quite right. So the HEI distributor that we have coming, it is like a mini distributor. It's the same size as this. It's not the big HEI like everybody else likes to put in these. This is the HEI that I prefer. These are great. This is probably the best distributor that you can get. These are so good, people use them in Fords. They actually have a conversion kit, so you can put one of these in a Ford. These are really great, but the problem is this crown is so big that if you put it in there, it will fit, but there's a dress kit for these 427s. It goes around the distributor, it boxes it in, it makes it beautiful, and this car still has it. We'd like to put that back in there. Another thing is the 69 has a tachometer that's driven by a speedometer cable that plugs in right here, just above the top of the back of the intake manifold. And that little speedometer cable is what spins the tachometer. So if you have a bouncy tachometer in a vintage Corvette of this era, chances are your tach is bouncing because your speedometer cable has a curve in it, and every time it spins, it gains and then slows, and then gains and then slows, and that's going to give you a bouncing tach. So if you got your distributor out or you have that cable disconnected from the distributor, go ahead and grease it with some, I prefer food grade synthetic anti-seize, but you can use, there's a lot of different greases you can use. The cable just goes from right here, it's at the base of the distributor. Probably, maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. It's right back in here. That goes straight inside. Here's the curve right over the valve cover. It goes in and plugs into the back of the tachometer. And that's what spins the tach. So if you do put an HEI in one of these, you're gonna send your customer away with no tachometer. Not cool. So we went ahead and ordered the mini HEI with the higher voltage coil. I guess we'll see that Monday. We're gonna throw that in here, and that should turn this thing back into mostly what we want. The final stage to this car, we believe, before we'll be done, is going to be putting the EFI system off of the Bluebird. It's going to be coming off of this car. Oh yeah, spent a little bit Pontiac right here. So we're going to take the fuel injection system off of this one and put it on that one, because this one's getting a LS kit, 535 horse, something like that, with all the extras on it. We're going to make this one a connected cruise. So anyway, that's it for tonight. We did what we said. We got it. Everything works. So we're gonna drop the wrench. Hey, we're back. So 1969 Chevrolet Corvette 427, Todd the Ozman Ozzy's car. So when we left last, we were telling you about the vacuum line dilemma. The car would run really rough, no headlights, no wipers, and we had like maybe 8 pounds of vacuum, and that would just fade off right away. So we got to get vacuum gauge hooked up here, and we're going to show you. We took all the new tubing, the new vacuum system off, and put back the original stuff because it was still in great condition. The solution this car needed was like 5/8 of an inch snipped off the end of all the rubber hoses, because they were in such good condition. But because being 53, 54 years old, more 55, the hose had wore a little space in here. So it was as simple as snipping off this much of the hose and then plugging it back on, and they sealed back up great. So we had to take the old vacuum hose system off, or the new vacuum hose system off that was replaced by the last guys. Now, this is the new stuff right here, and you can see it probably works for the later model C3s, but this early stuff, you can see this is smaller ID right here on the headlight canisters. So you put that on, first bump you hit, see it just falls right off. All these hoses have too big of an OD. It will not connect. So if you put a new hose system on this car, not only is it gonna not open your headlights, but it's not gonna open your wipers, and your engine's gonna run like heck. So we were fortunate enough that they didn't throw away the original stuff, which is much better. So yeah, we got it all back together now. We believe it did not burn a valve. We did a compression test, and we were pretty good all the way around. So luckily the leaky headlights did not destroy this engine, so we think we're still good. Now, I guess the final proof is going to be in the pudding, whether these wipers open and close and the headlights open and close and do the traditional C3 headlight clunk, where they clunk open and they clunk close. That's how you know you got it. So this is going to get loud, but here we go. As you can see, the problem was, it was a small problem that was made more complex because somebody didn't use the right tools. I mean, we use a smoke machine, but obviously you can use, you know, a simple vacuum gauge. Really, you can get away without this too, but if you're working on Corvette C3 headlights, you should probably have a vacuum gauge. I mean, for all the tuning purposes on this car, for setting the timing, for checking the headlights, for checking the wipers, all that stuff. There's a lot of vacuums here. Some of them go inside the car and go to the headlight bypasses, the little pull knobs that are between your legs under the steering wheel. Those are your emergency pull downs to activate your headlights. And of course, you can always climb underneath and flip them up by hand too, if in an emergency. But we've resolved the vacuum leaks on this car, so we can take the gauge back off now. Plug the original line back in, and we can put all this away. The car runs great. Headlights are working, wipers are working. Now, a lot of you know, like, you want to see 20 inch-pounds of vacuum or 20 inches of mercury in your vacuum, but these higher displacement engines, they have a lower compression and they have a lower vacuum to them. And we are here in the Salt Lake Valley. We're at, 4,200 feet or so. So higher elevation means lower vacuum, as well as the higher displacement, lower compression engines. They also create a little bit of a lower vacuum. So we're running about 16 pounds, and we're real happy with that. That'll work fine where we're at. So yeah, we're gonna call this one. We're gonna call this one done. Again, we're gonna do my traditional celebration of drop the wrench. Okay, so this one's going away for a little while because we got snow coming and we need this bay. So anyway, part one of this, and part two was no wipers, no power, run like hell, backfiring, no headlights, massive vacuum leaks. We do have one last vacuum leak, so the car's not quite 100%, and that is the vacuum brake booster. That thing actually leaks. We pinch it off and we can get it from 15, 16 pounds all the way to 17, 18 pounds, which for these high cubic inch displacement, low compression engines like the 427 and 454, that's a lot of vacuum for 4,200 feet in elevation. So we're about to do a test burn for Todd the Ozman, Ozzy. Anyway, this one's for Todd, and yeah, let's see if it'll let's see what it'll do. So we got no pinging, no backfiring, power's back. We put in the new electronic distributor. We also did one light spring and one medium spring to give us enough centrifugal advance to overcome what we're not getting from vacuum, and we think we're really close. There is no timing marker on this engine. We're not sure why. Maybe when they built it they didn't put it on. It could be the configuration of the water pump, because top dead center on this engine is it's on the top, and the water pump's right there, so you can't see it anyway. We're doing a lot of guessing by ear. Again, car's not final. It's got a lot more horsepower that hasn't been unlocked yet, because we got a leaking vacuum brake booster, which loses some of our inches of vacuum and changes the configuration of the vacuum advance. So like I say, this car's got to go away for a little while. We got 3 trucks backed up and 5 customer cars, so we're 8 vehicles behind. We need this one because we can't put it outside. We got snow coming. We need it to go away, because what the car needs now is a lot of smalls, a lot of little missing screws, the vacuum brake booster, you know, just a lot of little stuff. It's almost there. We got, you know, we got a lot of the stuff working, like the heater and the wipers and everything else, but car needs a little bit more. It's winter. Car shouldn't be out too much this winter anyway, so hopefully we'll bring this thing back in 3 weeks and wrap it up. So yeah, let's not forget, every 5 feet of burnout gets you a wrench. So this one we're going to drop 2 wrenches.